I was born on Cape Cod, in the Cape Cod Hospital, and I grew up with Ralph and Martha Cahoon's art all around us. They were just getting started as I was in junior high and high school, and we started to see their paintings everywhere. But of course, at that point in time, I wasn't into collecting art. I was into finishing high school. So when I came back after going to college and starting a business, and my husband and I had a home here, we started to look around and see what kind of art we could find. And the Cahoons came up. I first started collecting in 1991. I'd gone to an art auction at Eldred's in Dennis with my Aunt Nancy, who collected Martha Cahoons. And she was showing me how interesting they were, and I said, gee, I would like some of those too. The only problem is we didn't really have any money, so we could only buy very small paintings. But that's how we started. Our first purchase were the small frog leaping into a pond and the little Merry Christmas mouse that Martha had done. So we picked one Ralph and one Martha. And that was our annual budget for art collecting that year. I think the whole couples thing is very interesting. I obviously didn't write that because I would never have that association, but our excellent and highly desirable curator for this exhibit, Cindy Nickerson, came up with that idea, and I think it's quite interesting. My favorite piece of wall text that she has prepared for the exhibit is the picture of Ralph and Martha Cahoon working together at a table. Because my husband and I often work together over our business life. Not at the same table. We were in separate offices, as I said, separated by bulletproof glass. But we worked together and all the time, and our hobby when we were working was collecting art. We didn't have an awful lot of time to do anything else because we worked all the time to build our business. So when we had a few minutes free, we'd go to an art auction. Buying these paintings was really fascinating. Some days, you go to, most of our paintings were obtained through an auction, and at an auction, anything can happen. Our first major purchase was a Ralph Cahoon painting, and it was on the cover of Eldred's catalog, and I thought it was just gorgeous. It had all my favorite colors, lavenders and pinks and teals. I said, oh, that was just be a lovely painting to have. And as it turned out that day, they had quite a few paintings on offer at Eldred's. And just before ours would come up, or I called it ours even though it wasn't actually ours yet, a huge Antarctic painting came up. And it went for a serious amount of money. I think it was like $75,000 or $80,000, which was a lot of money for a Ralph in those days. And we looked at each other and said, oh, we can't afford this kind of money. What are we going to do? And our painting came up next, and it was like the room was tired, that they had spent so much energy watching this painting go to new heights, this previous painting, that no one had the energy to bid on this painting. And after a few small advances, we won. And we were like, oh, we were so lucky to get that. But in another time, we have a painting of duck hunters here that has a big oval gold frame that's quite nice. And we got that for what I consider to be a very reasonable price. It was probably less than $30,000, which seems like a lot of money, but at that point in time, it was right in line with what you would pay. And a couple of years later, we went to another auction at Eldred's, and there was another duck painting. It was about the same size, and it looked very similar. And this painting was bid up to $126,000. And we are sitting there watching each other, looking at each other and going, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, let's get our ducks and sell them right now. But this is just what happens at an auction. You get two very determined bidders, and the price can go far out of reason very quickly. So those were my most interesting buys. But we bought this art from all types of people. One of them we got from the artist William Davis when he was representing other artists for sale. And another one we bought from our house painter who had received a painting from Ralph Cahoon in exchange for work that he had done on Ralph's house. This is how a lot of Cahoon paintings were done. Ralph and Martha would do paintings and they would trade them with local tradesmen for work on their property, which was not in good shape and needed a lot of work. So those are the type of places that we would get things. Well, I think that my favorite painting, if I had to pick, would probably be the Woods Hole Express, which was that first large one we got. It's probably my favorite painting because of what it represented in our collection and our collecting time. Since then, I love the crash on Route 28. I think that's just very dynamic. And if you've driven on Route 28, you can totally relate to it. So I think it's a really, those are probably my two favorites.
Does Robin have a favorite?
That's top secret information. He won't tell me either, so we're going to have to let that one go on. Last year at the Osterville Library, we had a large exhibit of maritime art, and it was very popular. It was in the same room, and people were very interested in it. And at the end of that, I am president of the Osterville Village Library. And I turned to our director, Cindy Cotton. I said, if people here are so interested in art, we should definitely bring a collection of Cahoons to the library for the following summer. And since I happened to know where I could find a collection of Cahoons, I talked to my husband into allowing them to come here and be displayed for a couple of months. We have quite a few interesting speakers coming in. We're going to have Josh Eldred, who's president of Eldred's Auction House in Dennis, come talk to us about the Cahoon paintings that he's auctioned off, his experiences and values on the Cahoons. We're going to have Cindy Nickerson, who is our curator, talk about the Cahoons and how they painted and their lives and their art. I am going to talk about how we collect, how Robin, my husband, and I did acquire this collection and put it together. And that should be an interesting talk as soon as I figure out what I'm going to say. So we've got a few other ones coming as well. Sarah Johnson, who is the director of the Cahoon Museum of American Art, will be speaking. Here at the Osterville Village Library, we try to have programs that we conduct in conjunction with other nonprofits because it just spreads the knowledge around. So it's great that here we're bringing to Osterville a collection of Cahoons, and the Cahoon Museum is joining in this exhibit with us.
Do you have future plans for your Cahoon collection?
It's all going back on my wall at my family room as soon as this is done, to the exact same place as it left, because I have pictures and hooks on the wall ready for it.